Chapter 7, Smugglers and Pirates. Once again, I went flying and landed on my butt in guano. This time I stayed down. Sam, Simon hissed, you okay? I think I was whimpering. Simon turned on the light and saw me. Not again. It was a vampire bat. Did it bite me? Am I gonna die? You're a moron. Vampire bats only eat birds and frogs and stuff. They don't suck human blood. Oh, right. I knew that. Simon helped me up. The bats are gone. Let's get out of here. What about those boxes? I said. So we went over and pulled the lid off one of them. And guess what we saw? Turtle shells. Big ones and small ones. The other boxes had eggs and feathers and teeth and big squares of leather. It's like Manny said, I shouted. This is smuggler's stuff. Simon snapped the last lid down. Let's go. I mean it. We've got to get away from here. So we stepped out of the hole and crossed the cave and stepped through the next hole. And soon we were at the entrance. It was almost totally dark outside. Good thing we've got these helmets, I said. We started down the rock, and then we heard the sound of a jeep. You're sure your parents don't know where we are? Simon didn't answer. He just reached up and turned off my headlamp. What the? Hurry, he pulled my arm. Run! We started for the trees, but it was too late. We heard someone shout. We turned around and saw a jeep and a truck. They could see us in the jeep headlights, and we could see men running toward us. No way we could get into the jungle ahead of them and hide. But we were closer to the cave than the men were, so we ran into the jungle and then doubled back. As quietly as we could, we ran up the rocks and into the cave. Then we turned our lights back on. Move, we've got to hide. We pushed through the second hole and hurried to the back of that cave. Then Simon whispered, we have to squeeze into the cave with a tiny crack. The men will be too big to follow us. So we sucked in our guts and crawled through this sliver of a hole, and the cave was huge. These weird things like icicles hung from the ceiling. Wow, breathed Simon. Stalactites. I kind of remembered the word stalactites, but this wasn't time to review science class. What about those men? I bet those men are the turtle smugglers, Simon whispered. They're not going to let us escape and tell the police. We looked around our cave. At least the bats were gone. But on the walls we saw lots of pictures of bats. We went over to take a closer look. That's when I stubbed my toe. I shone my light down on a big pile of bones. Big bones. Bats don't have bones that big. We went down to look. Sure looked like human bones. Not like I've seen any human bones. Only in school books, but you get the idea. Oh man, I whispered. Something glinted in the light. Simon picked it up. It was a belt buckle, and it had a skull and crossbones on it. Simon put the buckle in his pocket. I wanted to whisper pirates, but Simon shushed me. We could hear the men's voices. They still sounded far away, but in all these caves, who knew? And who knew how far sound traveled in here? Over to the corner, Simon whispered. We moved as fast as we could. We could see a huge pile of guano, and we hid behind it. When we turned off our lights, great. I could feel guano slime soaking my jeans. This is a big pile of poop, I whispered. I bet it belongs to a vampire bat. Shh, Simon, I whispered again. How did a pirate get into this cave? We could hardly get through the hole. Don't know. Shh, listen. We heard them then, talking in English and Spanish. Then one of them shone a light into our cave. We sunk down as low as we could go. We know you're in there, a man said. Better come out right now. Simon whispered in my ear. They don't know for sure. The man stuck his arm through the opening, and the light swept more space. You can't hide from us, the man went on. This is going to be bad for you. He spoke with a Spanish accent, like in some kind of movie. We held our breath. Then we heard someone else yell. The light The light moved away, and we heard more noises. How did they know we're in here? I asked. I don't know. Maybe they could see our footprints in the guano. In a minute, we heard more noise. They're moving the boxes, Simon whispered. Maybe they'll leave soon and leave us alone. Made sense. If they took the boxes, it wouldn't matter if we told the police. The loot would be gone, and we didn't know who the men were. We couldn't tell on them. We listened and heard the men moving away. We heard them yell, "Hurry!" They were finished. They were leaving the cave. I felt a lot better. This was going to work out. Then we heard someone grunting. There was a loud crash, then silence. We waited and waited for what seemed like forever. Finally, Simon checked his watch. It was 8:30. We'd been in here for over 2 hours. It had to be safe. We stood up and turned on our lights. The entrance to our cave was blocked with stone. Oh no.